Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Maller-Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. LawMG.com. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnerships with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. Smithville Fiber Internet Security Solutions and Voice in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Bunger and Robertson Attorneys at Law, utilizing 75 years of experience, knowledge, and resources to help individuals and families recover in personal injury matters. Information at lawbr.com. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. IU Innovates is a program designed to help students, faculty, and staff develop startup businesses.
We can look at the economy of tomorrow quite literally through the jobs that our students here will end up either creating or being part of.
The program was started last November and is available to anyone in the IU community. We take a look at our upcoming documentary on a man who has been archiving sports broadcasts for more than 70 years. And remote work has become more common and popular. One big draw is you can live anywhere you want.
We visited a lot of them, and my kids actually had the final vote, and we sat down and decided where are we going to go, and they picked Bloomington.
Programs are providing incentives to lure remote workers to the state. We'll have these stories plus the latest news from across the state right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. Indiana University has a new program for entrepreneurship. IU Innovates helps students, faculty, and staff develop new businesses. The professors, staff, and students involved say it's an important part of the students' education. Aubrey Wright has more.
Inside the Von Lee building, IU students Eli Serrano, Izzy Branham, and Brian Rosen are talking business.
They knew all about us. They had been researching us.
Rosen's getting thousands of cans delivered for his energy drink company Evervive. Branham, CEO of RelateXR, is showing how artificial intelligence and virtual reality will help people with addiction. And Serrano tries to make social media better for you with his app, Aroma.
Aroma is a new social media that gets people outside to improve their mental health.
They're with IU Innovates. It's a university-wide program that helps entrepreneurs develop their startup businesses. Serrano is part of it and works with less experienced students.
When I got here to Indiana University, I wanted to be that mentor for someone just like me, but maybe a step below me that doesn't know where the first step is.
Last spring, IU Innovates worked with more than 125 student startup founders. To Director Julie Heath, entrepreneurship and innovation fit easily into IU's mission.
At its core, entrepreneurship and innovation is about problem solving. So each person who's here can probably answer, what big problem do you want to see solved in the world? This is an opportunity to do that.
Travis Brown says enterprising students do more than create their own jobs.
I've said it a million times, my students probably cringe every time they hear it come out of my mouth, but it's an effective vehicle for self-discovery.
Heath says $11.5 billion of Indiana's GDP was fueled by young companies. It's a major driver of economic health, and Indiana leaders are making it a priority.
We can look at the economy of tomorrow quite literally through the jobs that our students here will end up either creating or being part of.
Heath says anyone can walk through the Von Lee doors and ask for help.
We'll ask them, where are you on your journey? What are you trying to solve? Where do you want to go? Where do you hope to be in 6 months?
IU Innovates sponsors pitch competitions and peer groups. Some students, like Serrano, are mentors. He runs a group every week for startup founders.
We figure out what everyone's working on, what kind of metrics that they're looking to achieve, anything that they're stuck on, any hurdles, and we all just kind of brainstorm it together.
And IU Innovates takes advantage of existing programs, such as the Shoebox Incubation Program. Now it's called Spark Lab. It focuses on the early part of the startup process.
Programs like IU Innovates with Julie here, it enables us to be more inclusive.
It helped IU student and entrepreneur Matt Gotzik.
In my freshman head, I was like, oh, great, let's build an app, let's put it onto the market. It's a great product, everyone's gonna use it. This is gonna be incredible, billion-dollar company.
He learned quickly that's not what the startup world is like. But Gotzik is a long way from his freshman year. His latest success comes from his own struggle. He was against seeing a therapist initially, but afterwards, it changed his life. So he created an app that took the judgment out of therapy.
Why not make an AI therapist that, one, learns and understands who you are, and two, is built to help you in your own personal way?
The development was chaotic, constantly breaking the app to make it better. But people loved it. Gotzik sold his award-winning AI therapy and personal growth app, Thea, to Miri, a tech company in California.
I've never gone through anything like that in my life. This was lawyers, this was paperwork, this was significant capital, and this was a real business.
He says it can be a long, stressful, and sometimes lonely journey, but having a network of mentors, friends, and other founders at IU makes an impact.
You're surrounded by people who are sometimes in the exact same step of the process that you are, and it's one of those things where you don't feel alone anymore.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Aubrey Wright.
IU Innovates celebrates its one-year anniversary in November. It's available to anyone in the IU community. Students and faculty say they plan to continue to hold candlelight vigils at Sample Gates every Sunday at 11 p.m. in response to the university sanctioning 9 individuals who attended the first vigil on August 25th. They're protesting new restrictions on campus speech, which bans demonstrations after 11 p.m.
What we're seeing is an administration that seems to be quite willing to escalate its actions to make its point.
The Candlelight 9, as they were referred to during the latest protest, include doctoral student Bryce Green, dramatic studies professor Ben Robinson, and 7 other faculty members who announced they attended the vigil via the internet. A handful of plainclothes IUPD officers watched over the event but didn't interfere. There's a 93-year-old man in Evansville that has been recording and collecting sports broadcast for 3/4 of a century. But with age catching up with John Miley, he began looking for a home for what may be the largest collection of broadcasts in the world. He found one at the IU Media School's National Sports Journalism Center. We sent teams to Evansville and New York City to tell Miley's story. And on Thursday, a documentary called Archiving Airwaves, The Miley Collection, will air on WTIU. Here's a sneak peek at what you'll see.
But I believe I have the best and most comprehensive sports audio and video collection that has ever been had.
5 seconds left in the third overtime.
When I got to NBC and later to HBO, anytime we were doing historical stuff, one of my suggestions was, let me check with John Miley.
The thing that really got me started was the California Northwestern Rose Bowl in, I believe, 1949.
John really wanted to find a home for the collection, and we wanted to host the collection.
Out the Smart, baseline jump shot in the air, good!
Well, we're joined now by Wes Akers, the executive producer of Archiving Airwaves, the Miley Collection. Wes, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
So you spent a number of days with John Miley. What was it like?
It was fantastic. I think the biggest takeaway for me was, I wish I'd known this guy like 30 years earlier because of all the things I could learn and know right now. But John, I'm not sure there's anybody on the planet that knows more about American sports broadcasting than John Miley does. He's gone from being this incredibly gifted and passionate collector of old sports broadcasts to someone who's now more like a curator and a great storyteller of great games and great moments and great sports broadcasters, which, you know, a lot of folks, older generations tell younger generations about these great games and announcers and things. And but John has that special ability. He's got that special magic trick up his sleeve where he can then actually present that particular broadcast of that game or player or announcer that he's talking about. And it just makes it, you're in the moment where you feel like it's alive and it's real and it's now. And it's just an amazing thing that he can do, and his depth of knowledge from having this collection of pretty much every great game that there's ever been it was quite an experience for me.
So archiving broadcast for over 70 years. I mean, what a hobby. So, I mean, what got him started?
Well, he got, when he was in high school, the magnetic recording technology was just starting to develop to the point of where I believe he got a recorder from Sears to where it went out to the consumers. And it was this thing called a wire recorder, which is a slight forerunner to magnetic tape and the reel-to-reel and then eventually cassette. And so John got this wire recorder, which is mind-blowing to think about, that you could imprint an analog sound audio wave onto something as thin as a steel wire, but that's how the thing worked. And so John got the idea, you know, there really wasn't any direction in terms of what these could be used for, but John got the idea, is like, hey, I can record sports broadcasts and then I always have it and I can play it back and then I can keep it, you know, forever. So that's how it got started for him, and it became this huge passion. And then he had other friends, you know, around the country eventually that also recorded games for him. And then eventually he would catch up with other collectors around the country, and he would start to acquire their collections as well, to where he's got to the point now where he basically is the guy who has, he's got everything.
Well, I mean, it sounds like a lot of people in the business know him.
Oh, everybody knows him.
Yeah.
And that's the funny part about this story, is that the broadcasters, radio and television, they never recorded a lot of their great live productions, and a lot of those great live productions were sports productions. So unless you were someone at home with a tape recorder like he was, and you recorded games, you know, you didn't know the networks have it. And so John is like the go-to guy where all of the networks go to, or all of the broadcasters go to, if they want to do a documentary or some sort of historical program in the past. They will go to him because he's got the footage. And it's one of those things, if John doesn't have it, then it probably doesn't exist.
Now, how did IU become involved in the archive?
Okay, so from what I understand, Galen Clavio, who heads up the sports program there, the great media school that you have there at Indiana, Galen had Bob Costas come in and speak to his students. And Bob and John are really good friends. When Bob started off his career at KMOX, he had some program where he'd play these old historic clips of Cardinal baseball games. And John listened to that program and called him and said, hey, Bob, I've got a bunch of stuff you don't have. And so their relationship started there. So Bob came to Indiana's campus to speak, and he immediately told Galen, he said, hey, you got to go talk to this guy in Evansville, Indiana, because he's got this unbelievable sports broadcast collection that would be really great for the students, you know, to learn from, and for academics to study and do research on. And John was looking to donate this collection somewhere, a good home. And so that's how all these connections got made.
Wes, can't wait to see the documentary. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
We're joined now by Clayton Baumgart for the latest headlines from around the state. Hi, Clayton.
Hey, Joe. Governor Eric Holcomb is in Ukraine meeting with the president and prime minister to bolster ties between Indiana and the European nation. Holcomb's visit includes the signing of a memorandum of understanding between Indiana and the Ukrainian province.
Life has to go on, and that requires partnerships, and that requires trusted allies working together, even in a time of war.
Holcomb's visit comes as leaders in his party have criticized ongoing U.S. aid to Ukraine. But Holcomb says if Ukraine falls to Russia, who will be next?
The price of peace now will pale in comparison to the cost of an ongoing and wider war.
Holcomb says his visit was inspired in part by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's meeting with the National Governors Association earlier this year. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Jennifer McCormick says one of the state's highest priorities should be ensuring Hoosiers trust their government, and McCormick is proposing a series of ethics reforms to accomplish that. One plan includes a ban on lobbyists giving gifts of any value to lawmakers or state officials.
They're there to advocate. It shouldn't be an entertainment system. And I've watched too often where people get real comfortable in taking some big gifts.
McCormick also wants some state officials to have to wait at least 3 years after leaving government before they can lobby the state. The current waiting period is 1 year. Kids in Greene and Owen counties can now get free books every month from Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. The library will send a free book to each child who participates every month until their 5th birthday. Its goal is to promote literacy and early educational success.
It's pretty important that we get these kids learning these words way earlier than they're getting them now.
Parents or guardians can enroll a child on the United Way's website. It's available to anyone regardless of income level. 1 in 10 kids in the U.S. participate in Dolly's Imagination Library. Columbus is creating a downtown designated outdoor refreshment area called Dora. It's a new piece of Indiana legislation from 2023 that allows patrons 21 years and older to purchase alcoholic beverages and carry them outside to other events or participating retailers. Mayor Mary Furden says it will provide a new source of revenue for restaurants and bars and will boost tourism.
We've tried to be very careful about where we set those boundaries, and so we'll take it very slow and see how it works.
Signage will be placed along the boundaries, and plastic cups will have stickers designated as Dora. The Columbus District cites 9 temporary bar locations and 11 establishments interested in obtaining a Dora permit. And Joe, the permit still has to be approved by the State Alcohol and Tobacco Commission.
All right, thanks so much. I believe 21 municipalities now on the Dora. Yeah, interesting. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. As remote work becomes more common, the state is finding new ways to lure workers to Indiana. And local law enforcement agencies take their canine partners to the pool for some training. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
This is a matter of life and death.
Oh, good. Tell us everything.
Something's not right.
Could be worse.
These two crimes are connected.
That's changed everything.
Wrapped your eyes in murder again.
Needle in a haystack, right? I trust my instincts.
I should leave this alone.
That you won't.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. Well, it's not only law enforcement officers who have to continue on the job training, their canine partners do too. On Wednesday, law enforcement groups from around South Central Indiana and their canine partners took part in water training at an apartment complex in Bloomington. Venta Boutier has more.
A pool normally for residents of the complex had 11 dogs splashing around in it instead. It was a training day for the Monroe County Sheriff's Department and Bloomington Police canine units. Each department has 2 dogs in its units.
With training of dogs, you've always got to make it fun because they won't learn unless it's fun. If you're always on them or it's always serious and they feel like they're being punished, they'll shut down.
Sergeant Jordan Hassler with the Bloomington Police brought his canine partner, Twix, who he's had for 9 months. He picked Twix from a kennel in Pennsylvania.
When he come out and I seen him, I just knew that he was my dog. So he was the dog I was going to train with and bring back and provide the city with, and it's worked out so well so far.
Hassler and Twix finished their certification training in July and started working together in August. Wednesday was Twix's first exposure to water. Hassler threw a tennis ball into the pool for his canine partner to retrieve.
There's times that we have to find missing people or track people that have fled from us, and they tend to go to water. So it's just getting the dogs used to being around or in water.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Benta Boutier.
Law enforcement dogs are required to have 16 hours a month of training, but Miller says Monroe County aims for 20 to 24 hours a month. As remote work becomes common across many industries, workers have more say than ever before on where to build their lives. Clayton Baumgarth spoke with a new Bloomington resident and experts about how a state program is attracting workers from around the country to southern Indiana.
If you could live anywhere in the country, where would it be? That's the question Noel Sons, a retired U.S. Navy SEAL, and his family answered almost 2 months ago. After retiring from the service, he accepted a job with Hourglass Innovations, a technology company that offers services to the federal government. Now working fully remotely as the president of military applications, he and his family decided to move from their home in San Diego, California, to one of 5 cities: Astoria, Oregon, Kalispell, Montana, Greensboro and Asheville, North Carolina, and Bloomington.
We visited a lot of them, and my kids actually had the final vote, and we sat down and decided where are we going to go, and they picked Bloomington. So we got here July 15th this year.
Moving from San Diego, a city of 1.4 million, to Bloomington with its population of 77,000 can be amusing.
We think it's super funny when someone says, oh, that's all the way across town here in Bloomington. And we're like, okay, that's fun with zero traffic.
But overall, the Sons family has been pleased with their decision.
I've got to throw it out to the community here, how welcoming everyone's been and quickly making friends, getting integrated in. It's just, I don't want to be stereotypical, but it's just Midwestern nice. There's something to it.
We met Noel at the Mill, a shared workspace here in Bloomington. By using the website Make My Move, he was able to get a 3-year membership to the space.
It's made things easier. It gave us an address. Believe it or not, that's tough when because right now we're in a furnished Airbnb still looking to close on our house. Add an address, things like a printer, a place to go work, connections to the community. The Mill's been great about connecting us all the time.
Make My Move is a job placement website that connects remote workers around the country with communities which are attempting to attract new residents.
It's a form of economic development where communities can promote themselves on the platform, recruit workers, and those workers bring all of their economic benefit with them.
According to Hawk, Indiana has been a model for courting people to bring their remote jobs to the state. With funding from the Indiana Economic Development Corporation and Radius, a regional partnership, communities including Crawford, Davies, Greene, and Martin counties all have listed benefits packages on the site. Most include a stipend of up to $5,000 and additional benefits such as annual passes to visit state parks, free checking accounts through local banks that feature cash bonuses, and more. Hawk highlighted Jasper, Indiana as one of the success stories on the site.
It's really gone gangbusters. So, they've moved 70 households so far. And, it's really not surprising when you go visit that area. It's beautiful. The people are amazing. And that's exactly the type of thing that our users are looking for.
According to the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, the state has welcomed over 1,200 new residents through remote worker relocation programs on Make My Move. Interestingly, 53% of movers relocated to rural communities which have been experiencing population decline. Communities in the Radius region, which include 8 counties in southern Indiana, brought in 186 new residents through the program. These population bumps can help spur economic growth, especially considering the income required to qualify for the relocation packages.
It's really up to the individual communities to kind of set those bars. In most places, it's around $50,000. It might be a little bit higher for more competitive communities.
Choose Southern Indiana, a program from Radius, focuses on talent attraction. They do both remote worker marketing as well as general workforce marketing.
We have a defense sector program where we're helping recruit qualified workforce for the defense contractors outside of Crane. We've got a healthcare program where we're looking for nurses, and that's currently focused on 2 of our counties.
In the future, Painter wants to see placement programs focus more on attracting and retaining healthcare and teaching professionals, as well as making sure graduating students come back home after college.
If we can use this program to keep local or kids that are graduating from our local, colleges, IU, Purdue, Ball State, ones that are within the state of Indiana, and have them come down to southern Indiana and enter the workforce using our population incentive, then I think that would be a win as well.
But Painter says that movers aren't choosing to move to Indiana for incentive packages. Many have cited the state's natural beauty, lower cost of living, and more.
What we hear from the majority of them is that they just enjoy the pace of life here, and that they can own some property in smaller school systems, smaller communities. But where we're situated, you have access to those bigger city markets within an hour or less.
The Sons family and Painter agree that small town living and remote work offer an opportunity for growth in rural Indiana.
Pandemic taught us how important community is. And I think that there's so many great communities down there that if they could embrace remote work or supporting remote work, not every place has to have something like the mill, but something after that kind of structure and getting people into the community, I think it's a huge opportunity.
For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Clayton Baumgarth.
And the IUS Canazzi Museum of Art unveiled a new exhibit Thursday featuring art from musician John Mellencamp. The exhibit, titled Crossroads, the paintings of John Mellencamp, spans several decades of work of the Seymour native and longtime Bloomington resident.
We know his music, so I was wanting to see about his art, if it was on par with this career of music. It is.
The collection will be on display at the museum through December 15th. And don't forget, if you're watching this program Friday night, IU football kicks off at 7 p.m. BTN Network, watch for traffic around the stadium. That's the end of this program. Our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Mallard-Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Understanding, expertise, results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. LawMG.com. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnerships with communities and organizations. Rural.indiana.edu. Smithville Fiber Internet Security Solutions and Voice in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Bunger & Robertson Attorneys at Law, utilizing 75 years of experience, knowledge, and resources to help individuals and families recover in personal injury matters. Information at lawbr.com. And by WTIU members. Thank you.